partisanship, left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today. Thank you so much for joining us here on WYSL. We're live here until 2 p.m., so give us a call if you want to participate in the show, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Of course, we're also streaming on the Free Solution Facebook page, the Free Solution YouTube channel, Free Solution group, and the Kevin Wilson page and Twitter account. So wherever you're listening today, appreciate y'all. Leave your comments online if you are watching the live broadcast. And if they're good stuff, we'll put them up. And so today, I want to cover a couple issues that I wanted to cover on Monday, but we're having a good conversation about the schooling in Rochester and whether or not there was going to be any change for that. But speaking of which, too, is that interestingly enough, the Supreme Court just came out with a decision related to schooling, and maybe we'll get to that a little bit later in the program too. But I did want to talk about some other aspects of like what was going on in the city, and kind of again broaden that out to like what's the context for everyone, not just in the city, but for folks outside of that too. I mentioned kind of towards the end of the show, there's the move to recognize Juneteenth, which I don't mind. I think that's fine. I kind of don't get the folks who are like mad about it. Like it's been a thing since mid 19th century. It's been bigger in other states. I think it's a nice holiday though. It's the holiday where finally the struggle for emancipation, the fighting that slaves had done, and the Union soldiers and abolitionists, all of it finally came to fruition when the last of the slaves heard about that. Not that there isn't still issues. There wasn't still issues at the time with Reconstruction and finding new ways to enslave people. All this stuff happened, but the recognition of like, hey, no one should be held in bondage anymore. I think it's a nice thing. No, we can't celebrate that. We should celebrate that again. It's something that one of the biggest and best political accomplishments that the Republican Party has ever had too, right there in the beginning. Hi, Shelly, listening online. Shelly on YouTube says, good afternoon. That shirt is bananas. For those of you listening on radio, I'm wearing a shirt with a bunch of bananas on it. Always get some attention. It's a nice, fun tropical shirt for a day like today as I roast in my attic. So the other thing too, that City Council had in Rochester passed, they officially got rid of Columbus Day, and now it's going to be Indigenous Peoples Day. Again, these culture war things, like to me, I have a harder time getting fired about. I don't care. I think Columbus is kind of a jerk. But if you're actually mad about, I'd love to hear your perspective. 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. I feel like most of the time I hear people mad about it, it's folks who are mad on behalf of like Italians, although not always Italians themselves who are mad about it. But again, I cannot rise to be mad about this when there's so much other stuff going on the city level. Again, there's the school issues that I had mentioned. There's the police budget, which is always in contention, but particularly in the last couple of years has been a thing. And the police accountability board too. Again, here's this model that could be applied elsewhere, but is in trouble right now with scandals at the board level, at the staff level, on spending, on being able to actually deliver on taking citizen complaints, which it just this week got to even after working for several years and voters approving this a couple years ago, like they just starting to take complaints, all the excuses that they had there. All the people, all the excuses that they had to not get started are just incredibly frustrating. Like, oh, we don't have the right software. No, we don't have the right staff. So let's get into that, right? So like the police accountability board, which is an idea I generally like. I think that if there is a police officer who is accused of abuse, it builds public trust to have a third party look at it. It doesn't necessarily need to be the model that Rochester used, which has members appointed from, the police accountability board coalition. Like it doesn't have to be that, but I think like a third party should look at that, right? It could be folks appointed by the mayor. There could be someone on there to represent, the police perspective. There could be, again, the activists on there. There should be an objective third party thing. And sometimes you're going to need a board or an organization that has the resources to actually be able to investigate crimes, right? You're going to need lawyers and investigators to look at stuff. What happens to bring that complaint? Is that complaint going to be sustained or not? Is there any merit to it? Was there any inappropriate conduct? Because what it does, in theory, if you do it well, is it should build the trust that when someone feels they are subject to abuse, it's going to get a fair look. And there's the perception in Rochester, as there is in many cities, that they weren't getting a fair look, that the police department itself and the union were working to protect officers who were abusive in some way. Or again, not making a specific evaluation there. That is the perception. Okay, so bring it out of that. How do you look at these things objectively? And I like that idea. That sounds good. Now, Rochester, we got $5 million to do this, which is significantly more than many other similar projects had. Now, the Rochester Police Accountability Board was supposed to do more, right? There was that investigation arm. It wasn't merely a board of people taking complaints and trying to evaluate based on their own evidence without a staff to support gathering evidence of what happened. They're supposed to have all these resources. They're supposed to have a database, supposed to have a system to be able to get complaints to the right people and to let those complaints, those accusations of abuse rise to the top quickly so you can get justice. That's the idea. Spent more on this than most other folks, most other cities. Yeah, again, despite that, we end up with it taking a very long time for them to do that. You got to city council's credit, they finally got to the point where like, okay, well, we're going to kind of monitor your budget a little bit more closely, which that was always their prerogative anyway, and they're going to distribute the funds a little bit more slowly, so they have that additional oversight. I want to believe in this product. I like this thing. It doesn't have to be an anti-police thing, and it can just be a building trust back with the police again thing, right? Like it can be a thing where we're just sending someone else to look at this so you can rise above the accusation of no one outside of a police department looking at something, where there seems to be an incentive to protect the people that you serve with. It's understandable, but that incentive leads people to think that they're no longer being objective. $5 million on this. Again, I don't know what's going to happen, but on that related note too, there's also the matter of the police budget in Rochester, right? The police budget in Rochester this year was $91 million. And it's $91 million. It'd gone down by $5 million recently. I think it was last year it had gone down because that money had shifted over to the Police Accountability Board. So it's still pretty significant. It's a big budget. Not big relative to the cities that are larger than us. I get that, but it's still a relatively big budget. And we have what's interesting. I found some data that says like the number of police officers per capita in Rochester, number of police officers per resident is pretty high. So according to the one side I found it said we have more officers per population than 98% of other departments that they had data for. This is taking data from 2020 back before, the last couple of years. So that's pretty significant. And, it's how does that compare to the cities around us, other cities in upstate New York, Buffalo, Syracuse, are the city's neighbors in like Greece, for instance? How does that compare to that? Again, how does the budget look per capita as well? Because when I say that I'm fiscally conservative, when I say like we should be cutting spending on everything, like there's no sacred cows to me. There's no like, well, we need to cut spending everywhere, or except for the military. Or we need to cut spending everywhere except for police. Or no. It's everything. It's police. It's bureaucracy. It's all this stuff. Like, how do we reduce government to the size that's appropriate while still being able to provide some of those essential services that we need? And police, it's one of those things where people have the expectation that there should be someone to call when you are in imminent danger. So I want to talk about the budget. I want to talk about number of officers per person here, or per, whatever, 10,000 residents here in Rochester, and then what some other solutions might be to be able to reduce budgets all across the board at the local level too. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. Give us a call if you want to participate in the show, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Hey, this is Kevin Wilson, host of A Free Solution. You ever need a tool for just one project, but didn't want to spend the cash for something you'd use just once or twice? Well, there's a new tool library in Rochester where you can borrow just the thing you need instead of buying a new one. It's called the Tool Shed from the Southeast Area Coalition, and membership starts at just $25 a year. Use it for home projects or to support your business. Learn more and become a member at seektoolshed.org. That's SEAC toolshed.org.
As a veteran of the United States military, I can finally get the opportunity to enjoy special events, things that we couldn't afford, thanks to VetTix. Every empty seat at a concert, a game, or a play is a missed opportunity to say thanks to a veteran and service member. We can give our veterans a special event where they too can create their own cherished memories. Visit vettix.org. Find out how you can make a difference in a veteran's life.
Only available in the WISL store at WISL1040.com. Official top quality tees, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting the colorful WISL logo or the already famous Mount Worstmore line of merch depicting Mount Rushmore style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who is front and center up on that mountain. WISL official items make perfect gifts, or they're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Locally produced and sold only in the WISL store at WISL1040.com.
A free solution on the WYSL stations.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson today. Thanks again for joining us here on Free Solution at WYSL. Again, give us a call if you want to participate in the show, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. And let me get to some of the comments that we have online from Shelly, who asked, should an officer lose their job and pension for a DWI, or should they be treated like any other citizens who get a DWI? I don't know. I don't have like the definitive answer to that. I'm sure to me, the answer is, depends. I will say, like, just me personally, I think that police officers do have an extra obligation to to conduct themselves lawfully because they're expected to carry out the rules of the state, sometimes with violence. And that responsibility carries, to me, additional consequences if you are going to break the trust of the state, which may include losing your job. It's the same thing with other professions too. Like there are other professions where you can lose your ability to operate based on breaking particular laws, like lawyers, for instance. Lawyers, if they're not conducting themselves lawfully, they can lose their ability to practice. Same with certain types of depending on what the violation is with doctors too. Again, if you break it depends on what the violation is, but if you break the public trust in some way, and it doesn't even have to be breaking the law. Again, there are things that they could do that are unethical or abusive that might not rise to the level of being criminal, but do foster mistrust in the community, and they might need to lose the job for that too. Again, I'm that's just my personal opinion, and that's why, again, having some third-party objective group to make some of those determinations might be helpful. But I think something like DWI probably be internal discipline anyway, since it's not a citizen complaint. But that's a great question, Shelly. Thanks for doing that. And one other question from Shelly too says, aren't huge budgets just a thing in New York? Wouldn't electing Larry Sharpe stop that nonsense? So yes, huge budgets are most definitely a thing in New York. Again, it depends on what town or city that you're in, but they're just massive budgets for a lot of stuff for a lot of reasons. Some of it's just to do with the expense of New York State. Others, it's just to do with bureaucracy or momentum getting out of control on spending, right? Would electing Larry Sharpe stop the nonsense? Not at the local level. At the state level, yeah. No, like state level, electing Larry would go a long way to do that, and he would have the kind of the political will to make some changes on the state level. But on the local level, you still have to fight for that. You still have to talk to your city councils and your town boards and your county legislatures. That if that particular budget is out of hand, then you've got to work with them and or help someone get elected and or run yourself to go and bring fiscal responsibility to those things. So won't stop it. And again, even at the state level, if Larry gets elected, great, but a lot more people are going to need to jump in and support. Like, it's not like cool, we fixed it. No, it's a great. Now he's created a massive opening for people to jump in and support and start fighting for liberty in New York State. It's just a good. It would be a good starting point. And I think Larry would say the same thing. I'm not undercutting him here. It would be a good starting point. So let me get to this other comment from Patty on Facebook, who says, I could write you a whole book on this topic, just what happened in my public housing 20-unit area this week. Police hung up on 3 of us reporting an attack on a neighbor. Then who do you call? I went up the chain now for 2 days. And that's, again, Patty, I don't know where you are, but that's something that is like an issue that people talk about with police. It's like they cannot possibly focus on the actual areas of need in many cases, right? That unfortunately their resources are spread so thin, even with significant budgets, and even with in some areas like a significant number of officers, like they're still spread so thin, covering sometimes small petty crimes or dealing with mental health or medical issues or a whole bunch of other stuff, that they're not able to focus on like actual violence. And that's the unfortunate part. Again, I have my criticisms for the way police are structured. And how some individual officers conduct themselves. Like what comes to mind right now is the police down in Texas, in the Uvalde school, where they just released like some of the footage where they were just hanging out in the hallways for 58 minutes talking about how there might be kids in there. So like it's just that's absolutely infuriating. They had shields, they had weapons, they had everything they need to go. It's just that the people who were supposed to be in charge of that situation didn't push them into resolving it, and the officers on the ground didn't take the initiative themselves, which might have carried some consequences, but also may have saved children's lives. But back to your comment, Patty, again, it's it's a thing. It's ideally not the way you want to solve community problems with violence when you're reporting them attacking a neighbor. But I know how many calls like the city of Rochester has too. Like, and if I call the police, like if I'm lucky, there's a unit in the area and they're able to, like, if there's a fight in the park next to my house or something, they'll be able to get there within a few minutes, but not always. Again, a lot of times people worry that like when they call the police, it's not going to do anything anyway. If we get something stolen, like, oh, cool, I called, called the police and they showed up 3 weeks later to take a report. Okay, well, that doesn't really feel helpful to me, for having my stuff stolen. All right, well, why then are police doing that? Like, why does it need to be done through the police departments? Maybe we just let insurance companies or private investigators, someone else deal with this. It doesn't, not everything has to be done through police. So I want to talk about the budget though, because I want to get to what that actually was. Again, it's up to, it's up to like 91,000 at one point in time. 2019, it was up to, or not 91,000, 91 million. At one point in time, it was up to 95 million back in 2019. And this brings it back to like 2017 levels, so still pretty high. And yeah, it's a lot of money. This is a lot of money, and I don't just say that because like I recognize that big departments in big cities take money to run. I see what other departments can spend. If it's a big city, but in Rochester, we'd make like the top 20 for amount of money spent per resident. Like the 2019 data had us at $459 per resident. That would have been in top 20. I don't know exactly what it is now because population's changed. I haven't looked at that, but at one point in time, we were top 20. And we also have 34.2 back in 2020, 34.2 officers per 10,000 residents was the last statistic I looked at, which is more than like 98% of other police departments. So it's not what we're seeing in other places. It's a bit lower in Buffalo and Syracuse, and that's a lot. Like we are exceptional for the number of officers we have, for the number of residents. And part of that is like we have shrank, but police departments have not shrank with the population of the areas that they are serving. Again, compare that to like Greece, New York, right next door. They are a little bit lower. They have they have fewer officers than something like 87% of departments, 10.2 officers per 10,000 residents. Again, right next to the city, they have their own issues over there too, and right next door. It's just it's a lot lower, $169 in spending per resident for the police budget. So looking at this as a, how do you address the fundamental issue, right? That issue that Patty brought up. You want to be able to call and to have someone help you in a situation, right? Whether it's related to an incident that happens at public housing or in a park or wherever, you want the idea, the hope is that you call and have someone help you. But that doesn't always happen. And we're spending a boatload of money with some areas crime continuing to rise. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. When we come back, we'll talk about the actual solutions to this, not just the numbers. Give us a call, 585-346-3000 if you want to participate. We'll be back on A Free Solution. Just a sec.
celebrating 35 years.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll see the weather clearing on out, turning cooler and less humid. We'll drop back into the 60s. A much more refreshing day coming up on Thursday. Sun and clouds, low humidity, much cooler in the 70s. Friday looks like a nice summer day, low to mid 80s with plenty of sunshine. Then we'll heat it back up, but still sunny and dry near 90 on Saturday. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
Tom Hamilton here, president of Hamilton Wealth Management. Let's talk about investment fees and commissions. Just how much are you paying to have your investments managed? If you're like most people, you really don't know the cost, right? Does this make any sense? Paying for something without knowing how much? Okay, maybe your advisor is a friend and even sends you a birthday card every year. But what real value is he providing and at what cost? Isn't that a fair question to ask of any service provider, including your broker? For a $2 million account with annual fees and commissions totaling 2.5%, you're paying $50,000 per year. That's a lot of money. Are you receiving that level of value? If you have over $250,000, I will personally review your investments, including an analysis of the actual costs. To schedule your no-cost review, call our Pittsford office at 381-9870 or contact us from our website, hamiltonwealthmanagement.com. That's hamiltonwealthmanagement.com.
Advisory services offered through Wealth Plan Partners. Securities offered through Securities America, Inc., member FINRA SIPC.
WYSL.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text RON to 99799 and I'll send you my free training. I promise I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text RON to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's RON to 99799. Again, text RON to 99799.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
If you are dealing with chronic pain, Dr. Chirag Patel is now available in the Southern Tier. Serving Noyes, Jones, and St. James hospitals, Dr. Patel is an experienced pain management specialist. He offers steroid injections and many other procedures and has a special interest in the lumbar and cervical spine. Don't let chronic pain impact your quality of life. Ask your doctor for a referral or call 585-243-0150.
Geneseo Hardware and Rental has all your project needs. They have a large selection of hardware, plumbing, electrical, home goods, lawn and garden, plus much more. Geneseo Hardware offers Valspar paint, Cabot stains, a wide selection of rental items, plus screen and window repair. Get personalized service. Open 7 days a week. Geneseo Hardware and Rental, Route 20A next to Wegmans Plaza. Visit geneseo-rental.com.
Now offering lumber.
What's growing on your carpets? Carpet may hold up to 200,000 bacteria per square inch. That's about 4,000 times more than your toilet. Professional carpet cleaning with hot water extraction is one of the most effective ways to rid your home of bacteria, dirt, and germs. Call Lima Carpet and schedule your carpet cleaning today. 226-2180. That's 226-2180. Lima Carpet staff will do it right, guaranteed.
A free solution on the WYSL stations.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today. Thanks again for joining us on this very, very warm Wednesday. If you want to participate in the show, we're live here until 2 p.m. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Or leave your comments online. Another comment from Shelly on YouTube says, quotas need to go away. They haven't helped people. It's just fundraising. That was, again, it's one of those things that, like, whether it exists officially or unofficially in any particular place, like, if people start to feel like the role that police have are to meet the budget needs of a town, you're going to build resentment, right? Like, if that's your relationship to police officers, is like they exist in a place to give you traffic tickets or fines or whatever, and their role isn't doing something that you feel is keeping you safer, but rather, again, just trying to hit those budget lines. Again, when you have like a significant expectation in a town to meet a budget quota from police fines and fees, they get a problem. Again, that's part of, like what I know, like there's issues with like the Michael Brown story way back when, but part of the story of why people in like Ferguson, Missouri were so mad is because that's what they felt like their police department was to them. It's like, this is just a shakedown service. This is just extortion to them. Like, it's not keeping us safer. They're just going and harassing the residents as piggy banks, and that way, they can. It is like, it's a strategy that politicians will do sometimes. Like, I'm not blaming the police for this one necessarily. Like, I mean, I'm sure some officers are more enthusiastic than others, but it's something that politicians in some places might do to say, like, oh, we're keeping taxes low. But what they're actually doing is they're trying to encourage their police departments to go out and be more aggressive in collecting these fines, or getting people who are passing through a town, that type of thing. That creates problem. There are consequences to that. And, every time you have what I would consider mostly unnecessary police interaction, you create an opportunity for violence, both on the police officer and on the person who's being pulled over. So minimizing those things is a big deal. Now, so I talk about, okay, like, well, we want to maybe reduce this. Again, no sacred cows for me. And one of the things that drives me nuts is like, every once in a while, like, this will come up at the national level, right? Like, usually with military spending, like, oh, like let's reduce this by like our military spending by like 10% or something like that. 10% just gets it back to like 2017, 2018 levels. That's what drove me nuts when I was running for Congress, and I was hoping that Congressman Morelli would do that. And it's like, hey, just vote for this thing. It doesn't drastically reduce the military. It just cuts it back to what it was a few years ago. We're not even really cutting spending. We're still spending ourselves into oblivion. I think you get some of the same momentum with a bunch of stuff. I made that case for schools on Monday, but I think you get the same momentum in police departments too. And again, it's not that there aren't significant needs in the community for this type of stuff, but it doesn't always have to be the police doing it. And if you can address the fundamental needs in a different way, ideally through entrepreneurship, opportunity, and hope, and community building, then there are fewer incentives to continue to grow a police department beyond what is practical or makes sense, and the police can focus on addressing the actual issues that really they're the only ones in power to address. And again, what it ends up looking like in the city of Rochester is like, you got three members of city council who ended up voting against the budget overall because they wanted to transfer like $700 something thousand of that $91 million police budget to like libraries and community programs. Like, I mean, honestly, like it's so small potatoes. I kind of I get like trying to shift the money away from that, because that's like the type of thing these particular like progressive city council members are like, that's they're gonna do what they're gonna do. Like, oh, we gotta spend it on other stuff, right? To me, I'm like, well, just find ways to cut it, or again, start by shifting over to different types of services, right? So like, and we did coverage on this, back when like the Black Lives Matter stuff was happening. Again, what are the alternatives? What does happen? And again, there's services that police used to provide that they don't provide anymore. There's the police used to be in many cities the ambulance service. They were the ones who were responsible for if you called for help, you'd call the police department and they would get you to the hospital, right? Which they aren't trained for that. There's again, some of them weren't, but a lot of them they weren't professional, medical technicians. There's a profession that emerged out of a need a community had, and then the police department had been doing this and it shifted over elsewhere because some people maybe weren't happy with the service that the government was providing them in that case. And we could see other things happening that way too. Again, it's just a matter of what makes sense. I am interested to see any continued efforts in the city of Rochester, for instance, to move towards having other folks do mental health calls, right? Like, okay, well, what makes sense in that situation to send a police officer? When does it rise to the level of actual dangerousness? And then do the police officers know the best ways to de-escalate a conflict and make sure that the person that they're responding to doesn't get hurt or hurt themselves in that process? Or can you send a mental health professional who does this day in and day out and understands how to do that? That could be a better way of doing things. Get to some comments. Tim O'Connor says, hi, Kevin. Says they can stop pulling me over. I'd be fine with that. And yeah, I Tim on Facebook, I would like them to serve and protect me. Sure. Great. That'd be good. But again, onto the solution side, there's different ways to approach this. It doesn't always need to be that. There's also things like there's alternatives like, okay, if you are concerned with your neighbor playing music too loud or something, right? Like, well, what do you do, right? Like we live in a society where a lot of times the default reaction is like, oh, just call the police. Again, now that's taking up their time, their resources, that person to go and address that issue rather than focusing on the actual crimes that exist, right? That's more resources for that than you could be putting into investigators to deal with the high murder rate, and like in many cities, the low closure rate for murders. A lot of times these things go unsolved. They don't catch people. But if you're able to shift those resources away from those petty crimes, you have either people with the expectation to go and address those issues themselves, or someone else that you can call to deal with that other than the police. Great. What's the alternative there? Again, whether it's a government solution or just a community building solution. Again, and when you know your neighbors, when you know folks, when you have those relationships with neighbors, I know that's not always going to happen, but when you make that effort, and then again, you got to make the effort in order to be more comfortable with talking with folks. That's when you get fewer people that feel the need to call police. But again, we're not at a point in our society and many communities where people feel safe to do that. So you have to build that. You have to make an effort to do that. Again, if you want to be serious about both reducing the perception of police abuse, you could create accountability, and reducing the resources necessary for police to provide the services that people expect, it's going to require some work. It's not just, we're going to complain to the politicians. Like, it's going to require work from all of us to make that happen. That's a hippy dippy thing, right? Like, oh, we're all going to have to come together as a community. But it's true. Again, what do you expect if we have limited government? Part of that means not turning to government for every single thing. And guess what? The police are the government. That's it. They are the enforcement arm of the government. It's what it is. They're given a monopoly on violence to go and address crimes, or at least punish them for better or worse. So okay, so we have these other opportunities out there. What other services could better be done by someone else? Investigation services too. Again, can we outsource that? Maybe. I don't know. If you have thoughts on that, though, I would love to hear any other alternatives, like things and what are police doing too much of that we could then have their resources freed up to go in and solve the big problems that we expect police to handle in our community. Again, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. If you want to weigh in this topic, we're going to be back here on A Free Solution in just a few minutes. I'll make sure I get to some of those other comments online. Thanks again for joining us. Talk to you soon.
The WYSL store is now open. With nicer weather, your car needs an official Voice of Liberty bumper sticker. There's a great selection to help you show your love of God, the Constitution, and free and safe schools. Here are just a few available. Shut Up, Fauci, Kathy Hochul, Save America, Support the Second Amendment, Scam Alert, January 6th, God, Please Help Us, Close the Mexican Border, Save America, Stop Voting for Democrats. And there are gas pump stickers reading, Democrats did this. These are standard weather-resistant bumper stickers guaranteed to get you horn honks and thumbs up in traffic. Choose from other locally made WYSL Voice of Liberty merch too, like tees, hoodies, drinkware, and more. Perfect gifts for any Liberty lover. Check out the exclusive WYSL Mount Worstmore shirts, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting our 4 worst presidents. Guess who's front and center? Shop the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Hey, this is Kevin Wilson, host of A Free Solution. You ever need a tool for just one project, but didn't want to spend the cash for something you'd use just once or twice? Well, there's a new tool library in Rochester where you can borrow just the thing you need instead of buying a new one. It's called the Tool Shed from the Southeast Area Coalition, and membership starts at just $25 a year. Use it for home projects or to support your business. Learn more and become a member at seektoolshed.org. That's SEAC toolshed.org.
A free solution on the WYSL stations.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today. Thanks again for joining us here live on WYSL. And sounds like we have a caller on the line to Carrie from Rochester. Hey, Carrie, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic.
So, I just want to weigh in on all of this police stuff and the crime in Rochester. I live in the city of Rochester. I'm not in a high crime area. However, looking at some of the things that, I hear you talking about we have to get the community together and how else are we going to solve this and all of that stuff. But people in the community, whether they're willing or not, I believe they would be willing, but I think they're probably afraid. If you turn somebody in, if you do any of those things, your house is going to get shot up. You're going to be targeted. Yes?
Yeah, no, Pete, you're right. People are worried about that. And but part of it's right. Like, and what I mean by like building community is like getting to know like your immediate neighbors around you, right? Which sometimes is possible, sometimes it's not. But especially in the higher crime areas, people tend to close down and isolate. And that's a problem.
It is a problem, but there's a reason for that, is because if there are folks that are trying to be law-abiding citizens and you're surrounded by other folks that are kind of doing some hinky things, you don't want to get involved in that, because that's a danger to you. And if you have no choice but to live where you're living, you really don't want to be involved. The other thing that I wanted to mention was the approach by, I think, the city of Rochester, the mayor, Pathways to Peace, in my opinion, is not a good approach. I think their heart is in the right place, their intentions are in the right place, but when they're giving $5 million to Pathways to Peace and they're creating positions to reach out to criminals or people who are illegal gun owners and pay them not to use their guns, my friends, that is the wrong direction. That money could be going to so many other places. We can't be paying people, and it's not even that they if they get caught using their guns, if they get an arrest, then they don't get paid. I mean, are you aware of this program?
No, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I want to bring this up too, because the strange part about that is, like, I would be fine with it if I thought it would work, right? Like, okay, like if paying people, giving them a financial motivation to, like, give up their illegal guns, whatever, right? Like, fine. But they you're right, they don't get penalized until they get caught, and then they just don't get any more money. And, like, well, does that actually solve the issue? If you're just giving them money, and then if they want to go out and commit a violent crime, then just where's the incentive to stop that, other than, like, they're not gonna get whatever small amount of money they were getting.
You're right, and I know, and I get their idea for the less is more and the bail reform and the cashless bail. I get the Democrats' idea on this, because there are probably a certain, percentage of people that may have been penalized unfairly, or maybe it was too much, but it's a small percentage. The vast majority are just going to take advantage of that have no intention of changing their behaviors. There are some people, it's just a fact, that don't learn unless they get a good ass whipping. And I mean, could I say that on the radio? Unless they go to jail and they get consequences, that is the only way that they are going to change a behavior. Appealing to their, conscience or their, goodwill or whatever, it's not working. And then another thing, I think if the National Guard could come in, that would be really helpful, because we need more police on the streets at this point, not less. And we don't have enough as it is. And these people are putting their lives on the line every day and are very, very stressed out. And it's just, we need to do something different. And I think we're going in a bad direction in the city. That's my thought on it.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll just say, like, on the National Guard thing, like, I'm not sure that's gonna fix the issues that we have, because I think it's more fundamental than that. Again, like, I think it is a matter of communities getting closed off. It is a matter of poverty. It is a matter of some things. And again, you need the resources to stop those violent people. But, like, to me, it's part of the reason why is that police are stretched thin with a bunch of other stuff too, and offloading those services for both the mental health, domestic violence, sexual, like, offloading those onto organizations that have the expertise to take on that work, and having police focus on that would be helpful. And then we do have federal resources too right now. I think the federal government is helping with some of the gang violence and closing some of the murder investigations that are happening here too. So there already are federal resources, just not National Guard. I don't know what that does to a city under normal circumstances to have that those additional people and whether that should be something used in a domestic situation related to crime in most non-emergency instances. Any additional thoughts?
I'm going to agree with you on that. That was probably an overreach, but we need more resources on the street. Our police force is just stretched way too thin, and we don't have enough. And having to reach out to the federal government for help in a city that is just riddled with crime and violent crime. I don't know what the answers are. Yes, I would love to see the community come together, all of those things. And that's going to be, that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and other resources. So I don't know. I don't think we have an immediate answer, but an immediate answer right now would probably be to try to get crime fighting forces in there to just at least slow it down a little bit until we can get a handle on it, you know?
Right. Yeah, and I get it. It's a situation that is. Listen, I live right in the city too. You know, I understand, and the issues you brought up earlier too. Like some people are terrified. They don't want to go out. They want to get involved, and you know, because there's a risk in being perceived as doing something that's not any of your business, right? Which I'm a libertarian. I get that, but that can get you or your family hurt.
Snitches get stitches. That's a real saying, you know. So
right, and that's a huge issue that police have to deal with too. It's like they don't get the community cooperation that they're looking for a lot of times because people worry about their own safety, and that stinks. I don't have the immediate answer to that.
No, I know. Nobody does. That's why we have the problem that we do. But certainly, please don't pay people not to use their guns. I don't think that is going to work, and that is a lot of money to give for a program that is probably going to just throw money at people good after bad and really not have a lot of results. That's just my thought on it. So thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you for calling in, Carrie. Appreciate it. And again, we have a couple minutes left. You can give us a call, 585-346-3000 if you want to sneak in another call real quick. Appreciate the call, Carrie from Rochester. And yeah, I did mean to bring up this program in the last, the Pathways of Peace thing. It's again paying people to not use their weapons. Okay, cool. I'd be happy to see if that works. Again, if you can create a financial, if it's as easy as like just spending a bit of money for people to not commit acts of violence, great. I would love to see the evidence of that working, because if that's the cheap easy solution, great. I'm skeptical though. I like Carrie and like many of my other neighbors too are like, I don't see how that works. Hope I'm wrong though. Hope it works. Hope it legitimately reduces violence, you know, in the city and gets people to you know put down their weapons and to you know think about ways to just again let go of whatever issues that they have. But you know, and I do want to you know get this other comment from Shelley who talks about on YouTube, who talks about you know a friend who is a kleptomaniac who had like issues as a child, and you know they never got counseling. Again, that's part of it, right? It's like when people don't get the help they need for one reason or another, and the school system doesn't do that. And I don't think it's a resource thing necessarily everywhere. And I talked about resources at the school level. It's when you have issues that fester and go unaddressed, added to the situation where you have in some neighborhoods trauma where you may know one of your neighbors who was a victim of violence. Okay, you add all these things together, it makes something very difficult to do. And I get trying to stop the immediate crime thing. I don't know that police are able to do that immediately. It may be a long-term solution, and it may be again helping people meet their mental and social needs. It may be creating alternatives. It may be some police work, plus again creating that opportunity and hope that people like Larry Sharp always talks about. You know, when people feel like they have hope for the future, they're less likely to turn down a dark path. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. I'll be back on WYSL on Monday, but of course we have our online show tomorrow night too with Tim O'Connor. Have a wonderful week, folks.